Hello, and welcome to Skills to Pay the Bills. Today is our inaugural segment introducing Resources Unplugged. I am your host, Lorette Farris, and I'm joined today by the CIO, or the Chief Information Officer, and co-founder of iBOSS, Cory Wilburn.
Good evening.
Cory and I appeared on a show a few weeks ago where the references to a few programs designed to help small businesses and startup companies to manage their outreach and databases efficiently and cost effectively were very well received. We decided that we wanted to bring information back to the audience about programs of that nature. So we wanted to bring you this information by unplugging these resources for your consumption. Cory, welcome back. Glad to be with you, and I'm looking forward to us talking about some of these programs.
I'm happy to be here, and it is an important topic that needs discussion.
Yeah, and I thought the interesting part with this being our first session of Resources Unplugged, I thought it would be interesting for us to talk about some of the products and services that as co-founders of iBOSS that we bring to the table for our clients. So in understanding that we assist companies in raising capital, there are a lot of pieces that happen in that space.
Absolutely.
Most people think about the raising capital part, but the back office pieces that go on oftentimes are not considered. So I wanted you to talk about and sort of set a framework of different programs and applications that can be utilized along that road of raising capital, number one, but number two, in general, for small and startup businesses. So can you give me an idea of some of the applications and services that you wanted to bring out in this first session?
Well, I think you said it best. The most important thing for a small business, especially the rainmaker of that small business or that startup business, is to be able to purely focus on raising the capital, bringing in the clients, closing the clients. And the tools necessary to help them to accomplish this are applications. Technology has started to stray away from those big, hefty, heavy programs that you have to have installed onto a computer, and then you're limited to just that computer, and it doesn't give you the mobility. Applications, by nature, help to enhance by providing a CRM or customer relationship manager tool in order to manage your pipelines and your sales and your clients and your customers. Video conferencing software, so that way you don't have to worry about travel time or the expense of travel and time in order to meet with potential investors and clients and such. Social media, as we discussed before, is really major and heavy in any organization being successful, and even in just raising capital and getting their names known. But it is a bit of a bore to go to each individual social media site, and so social media managers become an important part as well. And of course, all of this deals with your time. That individual's time is the most precious commodity that they have, and to be able to effectively manage that time without having to always outsource, but to be able to have that own self-reliance and reliability to be able to handle their day-to-day, week to week, month to month, of course, is very essential.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, the timing factor. So with the what you just raised, one of the first things I'd like you to talk about when you say time, I know that one of the biggest issues I had at one time was as little as trying to schedule appointments. You find yourself 2-3 times you're reaching out, either you don't reach the person, you leave a message, or you know what time works on your calendar, but they have to get back to you. You send an email, so just trying to tie down to a date and time becomes a 2-3 step process. I know you helped me to find a scheduling program that really worked well for me. Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. So again, with applications being the heavy lifter of any individual's day, especially for a small business, not only was it a matter of knowing where, when, and how you were available, but what were your means of recording this data? Did you record it in a black book? Did you record it on an individual computer? The application or program that you were using, is it actually accessible from anywhere? Well, one of the programs that we vetted for that schedule management is accessible from anywhere. It allows you to keep track of your own availability as well as new appointments and such that may be coming about from potential clients or from potential investors. And the application that we're using even allows for a semi-real-time conversation between you and the potential client. They'll send you a message for the proposed time, 2 or 3, that you would then be able to go on and browse through your own schedule right there on the fly from wherever you are to then know if you can accept it, and if then communicate that back to the individual to see if you can come to a mutually agreeable appointment.
Yeah, because I will tell you, when someone, because it is set up on our website.
Oh, yes.
If you go to the website, a box pops up. If you want to either send a comment, schedule a face-to-face, schedule a video conference, you do it right there.
Absolutely.
But the part that is most valuable to me is I'm out and about taking care of appointments, doing whatever I need to do with my day, and I get a text message that someone is trying to schedule, 15 minutes tomorrow. I can right there accept it and move on with what I'm doing,
right,
or reschedule it because I know that time doesn't work. But now all of a sudden, I didn't spend the same kind of time I was spending before back and forth.
Absolutely.
So you also spoke about time management as it relates to your CRM, or customer relationship management. Mm-hmm. Can you speak to our audience about the tools that help you in doing just that, managing your customer relations?
Well, we all know Outlook is a major backbone, or some type of email program or contact management program is a major backbone of any business. The main difference between that, which is a contact management system, and a CRM, the customer relationship management system, is really the relationship side of a CRM. Mm-hmm. It allows for the relative data as it pertains. If you're doing a marketing campaign in order to raise funds from a particular investor, it can actually create that relationship between those funds that are being negotiated or those funds that are being proposed with that contact. You can even tie it in with specific messages that are going back and forward, so that way you're always up to date on the appropriate information for that deal or that pipeline sale. So
for me, I live in Outlook.
Absolutely.
And I utilize a lot of different add-in programs that if Outlook didn't have it specifically, these programs help me to incorporate various processes. But I do find it's limited in my ability to really understand what stage am I at in the process with a particular prospect, or how close am I in closing a particular deal. Does the CRM system provide me with other mechanisms that allow me to engage with a prospect on the road to conversion? Like, how does that work?
Well, I think you actually just nailed it on the head. You both stated what it does as well as asked the question of what it does, which is it keeps you on track and it keeps you on point with what's happening. But the other side of it that I did fail to mention is the fact that you can also set up a CRM to keep that other party on track on what's happening and where your status and standing is at, and that keeps both of you in the loop, so that way you're never missing a beat. And it is available on the road as well. It's applications and programs nowadays have to be mobile. We live mobily in today's society.
And we may finish this question out on the other side of the break, but for new, young, small startup companies that don't have a CIO, that may understand their craft, but they're not necessarily techie, they're not savvy with the applications online, how much is involved in trying to put some of these programs in place?
I'll start by answering that question, and then I'll have to do a little plug for us as well. The programs are easy to find, easy to install. You don't have to be a technical genius in order to use them. It's just creating that technical habit that I was talking about before. They range in prices too. They're not out of people's price range as they may think. These CRM programs can run you for as low as $29
Wow.
to as high as $100, but of course that depends on your flavor of ice cream that you're trying to go for. But we as iBOSS, especially me as the CIO, we go through the vetting process of a lot of these programs and applications. So we have some biased favorites and such, but very easy for any end user.
So you actually, when you say you vet the programs, is it just for your clients, or is it other than your clients? Is it particular programs that you look at and you vet and work with? Or what if I had a program or application that worked for me in what I'm doing? How can you help me with that?
So for the iBOSS side of things, we practice what we preach. We try to find tools that will enhance our services, that will help us to enhance our customer services, to help them ease into their campaign for raising of funds and such like that. But in that sense of, if we were to take somebody on or if a question were asked, we'd have no problem vetting it as well. We could come up with the agreement between us that I would go on, take the look for you, contact said provider on your behalf to then find out the ins, outs, details, find out what your preferences are, and then see if your preferences then match the system that's in place. And if they do, provide you the training that's necessary. Okay,
fantastic. So we're about to go into a break. And what I want to talk about when we come back are some of the other measures that you lightly reference but save time. And that really has to do with the video conferencing, which winds up being a big piece of that process.
Yes.
So we are going to take a short station break, then return with Cory Wilburn to continue unplugging resources you thought were beyond your reach. Stay tuned, as you won't want to miss one application.
Join our mission to proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ. Every week we feature a medley of gifts from artists, performers, ministers, and more. Experience the Lord's everlasting light in the cool of the day.
Welcome back. You are watching Skills to Pay the Bills, and today is our inaugural segment of Resources Unplugged. Our special guest is Cory Wilburn, CIO and co-founder of the Internet Back Office Systems and Services, or iBOSS. Let's continue our discussion about applications and programs that help your small business grow to maturity. So Cory, when we left the last discussion, I said I wanted to come back and talk about another program that really saves those solopreneurs, those consultants, companies and small businesses that are constantly running around. You have to meet with clients, you have to meet with prospects, you have to do networking. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of time.
It is.
And so you referenced video conferencing. Mm-hmm. At iBOSS, we do a lot of video conferencing, but I'd like you to speak about what is that all about, and how does it make a difference for a small business?
So as we said at the beginning of the segment, time is the most precious commodity that exists for small business and startup business owners. And as these small business and startup business owners are seeking capital or seeking clients, well, their time is important to them as well. And it usually ends up becoming that give take as to where you want to meet. Do they have to sacrifice time for trip and travel? Do you have to sacrifice time for trip and travel? Well, the video conferencing software that exists now just bridges that entire gap, and it adds a level of intimacy that's still deeper than that of a telephone call or a email back and forward, as you are now able to see the expressions of the person that you're chatting with. So that way, if you need to change the way that you're going about your negotiations or your pitch or the flavor of what it is that you're saying, you can actually go on and do that in a real-time sense and aspect.
Yeah, I will tell you, since we incorporated video conferencing, a good 75% of my meetings are held that way. And I do have clients and just initial, folks that I'm trying to engage with that initially have a little reservation in doing the meetings that way. But it invariably, after doing it the first time, there is such a level of comfort because you're still getting the FaceTime.
Right.
And what everyone is enjoying is that they're not losing that additional hour and a half of prep time, of travel, of traffic. Yeah. It winds up being pretty significant. And for me, I tape a lot of my sessions. But I'm going to go back to a similar question that I asked you before. For those companies that are not very, they don't have a CIO. They are not very computer literate, more or less going to these next levels of technology. Can you speak to how difficult or not is it to get started with the video conferencing program and then moving forward?
So there are three misconceptions that I think still exist in people's minds when they think of trying to institute a video programming or video meeting program within their business. First and foremost is the price. The range on the pricing of video conferencing software can range from as low as $9.99, $10 a month, to as high as possibly like your $50 to $100, depending upon the package, of course, that you choose. Very affordable. The second misconception, it's going to take a lot of computer bandwidth, or it's going to take a large computer in order to do. No. Simple, easy, pay, install, and when you set up a meeting with your end user that you're trying to meet with, they don't download anything. They just go to whatever appropriate website it is, it does a brief update of the application, and then they're rocking and rolling with the meeting. And then that leads into the last thing, well, I'm gonna need somebody on staff in case something happens or something pops up or there's an error or something and I'm not gonna know how to resolve it. There are reliable backbones put into place for these video meeting softwares that alleviate you having to have somebody on staff in order to resolve technical issues. Web cameras, even if you don't own one now, are extremely cheap as well and of great quality.
I know that in all of these applications and services that we're talking about, we're not putting out specific names of products. And I know that we decided to purposefully do it that way because in the categories we're discussing, there are various products that fit that need. Now, on our website, through the lens of small business, we have a resource page that anyone can go to the individual ones we're talking about. But point being, when we talk about video conferencing, a lot of people are familiar with the Skypes of the world and the Google Hangouts. I know for me, one of the reasons in business I don't use them is the flexibility that I get to be able to tape the sessions that we're doing. The times when I only want to share my screen and not necessarily be seen via video. Do you run into any issues in that respect, that someone may have a preference in what they want to use as opposed to what you're using? And again, can you just speak to how that space works?
So no more different than somebody walking into an ice cream shop that they then have their favorite flavor of ice cream, even though it may not agree with their body. Technology is the same thing. So yes, we as iBOSS, again, we do have programs that we have vetted on our own that we love, that works perfectly fine for us. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work fine for somebody else. So again, in that situation, that's them going through their own vetting process. But if they could have somebody in the background to go on and try to, again, match their preference with their technical capabilities, then that's where a professional in that area needs to come into play. But the main point being, they can still easily go on and obtain these programs to try to get it to work the way that they want. Now it's just a matter of finessing it into how it works.
Yeah, and again, that was one of the reasons I didn't want to talk about specific product and wanted to talk about more process, because I agree with you. I think it makes a big difference in the company. It's a case-by-case basis.
Exactly.
You know, the applications that may work best for me, there's even times that you're not necessarily interested in the product that I say works best for me, and we're in the same company, but it's the product and process. And again, I'm hoping that we get across the point that these tools are so cost effective. Years ago, video conferencing was a very expensive process to even consider. Remember, you had to have, I don't know, the T1s and everything else in order to be able to do that.
The bandwidth of the meetings.
And today it's nothing. Yeah, it's really amazing. There was another product that we had wanted to sort of talk about when we talked about the CRMs, the customer relationship management systems. It's one thing what you're doing for your customers, clients, potential investors, but we also wanted to bring up if you have a membership organization. Can you speak to the tools that are available for that level? If it's a membership organization, are you handling your CRM the same way you do with just a regular marketing program?
Well, you might want a degree of separation. So I'll speak on us briefly just as the example, where we have two separate websites ourselves. We have our main website, iBOSSinc.com, and we have Through the Lens of Small Business. iBOSSinc.com serves as our business's main hub of what we do. Through the Lens is actually meant as a collaborative workspace for other entrepreneurs to get together and then also just find other business resources that they can train themselves on, or open up their eyes to other means of gaining capital or finding potential investors and things of that nature. What a Through the Lens site that we have is that membership-based site application that we have, and it has a completely separate database than that of what we do already. So we still need to track what's happening there, but it does not need to be tied directly to what we do as a main business, unless one carries over to the other. So every business should have their names registered for their .coms and .nets, but it also does not hurt, to have another means. It's a value-added service that they can offer, and also a value to their organization that potential investors might be interested in as a further enhancement.
Yeah, and you know, and for us, we purposefully want to do that. In our give back under Through the Lens of Small Business is information of this nature.
Inclusive of applications and technological advancements that an organization may not believe that they're capable of doing, but it shows that it is possible and easy.
Yeah, and so again, the CRM factor is also being able to manage our members.
Absolutely.
Other than on the other side, managing customer interactions and things of that nature.
Exactly.
And I'll put you on the spot one more time. So again, price-wise, and if they do not have direct access to a techie. Can you just sort of sum up how a business can handle putting these applications and processes in place, even when they're walking on their own?
So my personal opinion on it, you as the business owner know what it is that you need and know what it is that you do. You also know how effective it is, what it is that you do, and how much more effective it would be if you could do what it is that you wanted to do. So with that said, you might think of an idea or might have a thought of, well, if only there was something out there that I can do in order to make sure that I'm staying on track with my scheduled time and stuff like that. But it's going to take too much time to learn it, or it's going to cost too much money for me to do it. Bottom line, the majority, if you needed like 3 or 4 different applications to go on and better utilize your time, your efforts, and your energies, you're looking at no more than possibly $30 in order to get this stuff done in an organized fashion. If you're doing your own self-vetting, these $30 sites have comprehensive help desks, whether it be that you're contacting somebody to find out, hey, just show me what I want to do, show me how I need to do, or hey, I'm having an issue or problem, or how do I set this up? It's the light switch theory. We as small business owners and startup owners want to just be able to flip the switch and the light comes on. We don't need to know how the light comes on, but we just want to flip the switch and it work.
That was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. So, in closing, it has been a pleasure to have you as our guest today as we kick off this initiative to show small business how to create a big business persona. We are excited about the information you have brought forth, and we look forward to having you back. In closing, I encourage our viewers to check in for our next episode of Resources Unplugged as we continue to source and vet applications and programs to enhance your business management processes. Thank you again for watching Skills to Pay the Bills and today's segment of Resources Unplugged, Tools